Okay.
Welcome to AmityCast. My name is Ellis. Is that right?
Um, my name's Matthew.
That is your name. And
Is it?
today we're talking about the hit MCU film that came out this year.
Surprisingly.
What?
Surprisingly.
And it's not Black Widow. It's the other one.
Yeah, it's really weird. They started releasing movies again, but they only made Black Widow go to Disney Plus. It's like, what?
Yeah. I don't know. I've noticed, studios have been excited about Shang-Chi's success because, they moved Venom, what they're being called it, just to October 1st after seeing the box office opening weekend success for Shang-Chi, because people are more willing to go out to theaters against it.
That means Halloween Kills gets the weekend to itself.
That's very good. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and then we'll actually have something to cover that week instead of having to watch two movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and yeah, this movie's doing really well because they said if this movie didn't do well, they were gonna push Eternals next year, and then Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
Spider-Man probably would got delayed until next year, so it's definitely a good sign.
Well, it's nice to see that it's doing well. Yeah, it broke the record for highest grossing opening weekend on Labor Day weekend, breaking the record held by Rob Zombie's Halloween back in 2007.
Yeah, which is very weird, but it isn't surprising. I completely forgot that those movies were so idiotically dumb that they also released at the end of August for some reason.
Yeah, which doesn't make much sense.
I know three of the Halloween movies came out in September, and it's what? Why would you?
It's just weird to think that horror movies that don't come out in October. It doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, it's also called Halloween.
Yeah, it's called Halloween, which is the most fitting to be released around probably Thanksgiving or Halloween. I don't know.
Thanksgiving too.
They didn't make a second one. They just made a third one.
Yeah, but back to this movie. It's the 25th movie, and now they're really scraping the barrel for heroes, really. And then we're getting fucking Shang-Chi and the Eternals. Even comic fans don't remember them. But
yeah, Shang-Chi was not a very popular character. It was
he definitely is now.
I was yeah, he's become popular. This movie has become a big deal, especially in this year, returning to theaters, like I said earlier. But it's just with a super obscure character who didn't make very many appearances throughout Marvel stories. He kind of showed up sometimes. But they found a way to establish a backstory and put together.
It's a little funny that each movie now and show just has to reference Thanos with a blip at least once just to be yeah, it happened. It's almost
just remember that big event that took place.
Yeah, it's almost like the movie happened, and it's kind of funny because the 10 rings are actually changed in this movie from actual rings to these bracelets because of Thanos because they didn't want to look at similar to the Infinity Gauntlet, which is kind of cool because I kind of like how they are in this one more.
Yeah, I like the way it was portrayed. The whole fantasy aspects with the 10 rings. Aesthetically, it was very cool. It was very compelling.
The best part about this movie,
as we slowly get to see the power, it was really cool.
Yeah, the best part about this movie is easily the action and this spectacle and the visual effects.
I gotta say, it was choreographed very well. The action was very enticing, and it kept me enthralled. The action sequences, it seemed a bit reliant on them, which was kind of weird, but it makes sense for the type of movie it was. It's not a flaw, really. It was also just so well done that I didn't care too much. The visual effects were incredible. I think they did a great job in implementing them into those action scenes as well as the rest of the film. I think that was very cool.
Yeah, and the villain was also very good. I really liked the villain in this one. He kind of
it was a pretty good villain. It was a little weird for me going throughout the whole thing. It kind of seemed back and forthy because it was all oh, he's their father, and it's oh, well, he's got this motivation that's kind of understandable. And it's like, well, I mean, they're like really against him, and Shang-Chi's like, I'm gonna kill him, and it's like, well, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, they go a little bit back and forth with that, and like he's not even really portrayed as a full villain. Like in the end, he like is a good guy, and like he just kind of dies, and it kind of feels like I would have liked him to live, but
Yeah, it's presented as like the death wasn't that impactful to me. I mean, it wasn't as impactful as I feel like they thought it was going to be. At least that's with me. It could have been different with other people, but it's like portrayed that like he has a motivation that makes sense because he's trying to like save his loved one, but like he believes it because he's being like deceived by the power of the rings or whatever exactly they were trying to say with that. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It was fine. I mean, he was a good villain. It was well portrayed, I think, overall. So.
well, yeah, easily the best scene with him was when he went into that bar in that flashback after his wife was killed. That was like a great scene.
I think I was going really with him, like, is this actually a good villain? But then in that scene when, like, it's kind of like young Shang-Chi, like, he's, like, kind of seeing the horrors of what his dad's doing. It was, like, a good, like, showcase of, like, what, like, the character's supposed to be.
Yeah, and they had some good lines because there was that whole like dialogue where he brought up the Iron Man 3 Mandarin, which is of course something that would have to address, and I thought that was gonna be it because it was like a really good conversation when they brought it up, and I thought that was gonna be it because at first I didn't know what he was talking about, but then I realized, but then they actually brought back the fake Mandarin from Iron Man 3, which was
I thought that was crazy. That scene was like kind of flooring to me. I was like, whoa. That's awesome, actually.
It was really cool, and like it was weird to think about like how far we've come since that movie. And I'm surprised it never got spoiled by like any of the marketing. But then he was just kind of there after that. He was just kind of like there and like for some comedy, which was kind of.
Then after that, it was kind of like a comedic relief because they were trying to shift Aquafina's character from being a comedic relief to being more integral. So then they kind of shifted the comic relief onto him. So it was a cool like introduction into like the whole story. He like understands the little faceless creature for some reason. It was all kind of weird. I didn't like love it, but I mean it was fun. I mean it was okay.
It's always weird to think about because like in Iron Man 3, he was like the struggling drug addict who was like being forced to be like who was like this terrorist actor, but then like in this movie he's like talking to like a weird monster that looks like has a butthole face.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean the moment when the one character was like, "Where is its face?" So he was like, he was very insecure about that. Don't say that.
Yeah, I mean, he had some good lines. It was good to see like more continuity because I never thought we would have saw that, and it makes sense why he would be in the story. But he kind of felt wasted after that, and like it's almost like we don't need a constant comedic character in all these movies. At a certain point.
Yeah, it's not necessary. At least not in my opinion.
Unless it fits the story, like a show like Loki, it makes sense that like Loki would be kind of comic relief, or like Falcon and Winter Soldier when those two actors just really bounce off of each other, or Spider-Man. But like if the story doesn't really feel like it needs it, it's just kind of like you don't really need it because I feel like audiences will be engaged anyway.
Right. I mean, I agree with you there.
Like it makes sense. Like Spider-Man has like. You know, like a teenager friend that's like a comic relief, but like I don't want to like watch like Moon Knight and just have a constant character making jokes the whole time when it's supposed to be like a serious character of like serious mental issues.
Yeah, like that's kind of the whole draw of like the character outside of any like of the fantastical stuff.
Yeah, and this movie worked more as like a family drama than it did a comedy like action film.
That's true.
Because we haven't even brought up his sister yet, which that was like a interesting storyline. I didn't love it or anything, but it was definitely compelling, somewhat.
I mean, they played the family dynamic kind of weirdly. I mean, it wasn't like terrible, but it was just kind of like, oh, I mean, he promised to come back, and he was like, oh, I didn't do this thing, and then like he never came back, and then later on he's like, actually, I did do the thing, and I felt ashamed for it, and that's why I didn't come back, and they like abandoned his sister or whatever. And his sister was like, well, I ran away and I started, like, my own empire. Like, okay, I guess all this is just kind of whatever. It doesn't seem super cohesive to me, but, I mean, it was all right.
Yeah, the movie was definitely hyped up, and it was definitely better than I thought it would be, but, like, it's being, like, touted as, like, a 9 or, like, a 10 out of 10, and it's, like, up there of, like, the most, like, best-rated comic book movies, and I just think it's, like, It's like really good, but it's not like amazing or anything.
It's a very solid spectacle. It's very fun watch, very entertaining. I'm not gonna find myself really wanting to revisit it that much.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be against
But
watching it again sometime soon, but I'm not gonna like seek it out or anything because I already seen it.
yeah, I mean, I'd be fine watching it again a couple times, but it's not like one I'm gonna actively seek to rewatch or like really quest to, because overall, I mean, it's impressive on like as far as like scope and like the scale of it goes. I really enjoyed a lot of little aspects. Just like most of the performances were pretty solid, and overall the plot was very compelling. It just had some like the story just had some weird beats to it that I don't think flow as well as like they intended. That's just on my viewing of it. Overall, I was impressed. I wasn't like oh, this is amazing. I was just like, oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not like angry I watched it by any means.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it has the best action since Winter Soldier, and I probably agree with that. It's definitely worth it for the action, especially the train scene. I mean, the bus scene. That was a great scene. I really enjoyed that.
That's true. The bus scene was incredible.
And it happened really fast. Like, the plot really got kicking after a bit. I thought there was going to be a lot more, I guess, like, padding.
Yeah, the opening wasn't very, I mean, like, the very beginning obviously had exposition in it, but then after that, like, the scenes with, like, you know, Sean when he's, like, living his life in, like, San Francisco or whatever, it was just all kind of, those are just, like, setup scenes for, like, the character and, like, where he's at in life, and, like, it was alright. I mean, I think it was probably necessary, so it definitely, they didn't, like, handle that poorly at all or anything, and then it was just kind of like, he's on a bus, someone's trying to take his thing, and then he's a super awesome martial arts master.
Yeah, I really, I like the main actor here. He is very good in the role, and I'm definitely excited to see him in more projects, because there's definitely going to be a sequel to this, and there'll definitely be another, like, Avengers films and stuff like that. And it'll be it'll be very cool to see like his action scenes implemented into like an Avengers type movie to keep him like different.
Yeah, that I think will be really cool. It'd be nice to see like the use of the power of the rings going forward as well.
Yeah, because they're definitely setting up as like a new power. Because the post-credit scene with Wong, who was in this movie a bit more than I thought he would be, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the weird Abomination and Wong like being friends thing doesn't really make sense to me. Kind of felt just put in there for some reason. I mean, it was cool to see Abomination again, especially since he is coming back in She-Hulk.
Yeah, that's true.
As like the main villain, I think, which is, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I don't know how much I like his redesign though. I know it's like more comic accurate, but it just kind of looks weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little off-putting. I mean, I don't like dislike it, I guess. I mean, I'll have to see more of it, of course, but...
Also, Bruce Banner is like Bruce Banner again.
Yeah, that was a weird thing, and that kind of mid-credits scene, like, he was in the credits. I don't know if it was, like, mid-credits, but, with, like, Captain Marvel was there, and then Bruce Banner was, like, he still had, like, his arm is messed up, but he was Bruce Banner, and he wasn't, like, Professor Hulk, so... No. I don't know what's up with that.
I know he's going to be in the She-Hulk show. I'm assuming they'll explain it there. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
It just seemed weird because it seemed like that Professor Hulk move in Endgame was like a permanent, like, life change. But, I don't know. They've always gone back and forth with the Hulk character in the MCU. And it's just, I don't know, I kind of wanted to just stick with something.
Right. I see what you mean.
And then the last post... Did you see the last post-credit scene?
No, I didn't actually see, like, the end credit scene. I didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah, it was not as important as the actual mid-credit one. It was just the sister character, like, at, like, the Mandarin's place, and she's basically, like, bringing the organization back, and, like, you see, like, men and women warriors, too, and it's just kind of, like, showing that she's rebuilding it, and it just says the 10 rings are going to return. And it's just like, okay.
Alright, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, and then like it looks like it might have been filmed during COVID because like a lot of the actors had masks on, and they were like they made it look like it was just a part of like their like dress up, but it clearly looked like masks.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first post-credit scene is way better, and I don't know where it's gonna lead. I really like the character, and I like his dynamic with Aquafina's character. I don't remember her name. She wasn't as annoying as I thought she'd be. She wasn't great though, and I don't know.
She wasn't like great, but I mean, she wasn't like terrible. I mean, she had some like decently like funny moments as like the comic relief early on, and then she had like the arc when they get to like the weird village, and she's like learning how to shoot a bow accurately, and then like it all like comes down to that, and she's the one who kind of saves the day because she stops the thing, and it's like, okay, I mean, the way the character was set up, I didn't really need her to have an arc like that, but yeah, they made her useful, and it's like, okay. And I know some people were saying, oh, there's no way that she would have like hit the arrow perfectly. It's like, yeah, but also she was shooting an arrow at some weird like fantasy beast that was fighting against a giant protector dragon in the land with faceless people. That was fun.
Yeah, they also just introduced dragons in the MCU, so that's the thing.
Yeah, which I'm excited about. Dragons are always great.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see him again. Probably will at some point.
I mean, during that scene, I would say it was nice to see Shang-Chi, and he was like holding on to his sister, and she was like, "You have to let me go," and he was like, "I'm not leaving you again." It was kind of a cool thing. That's like, obviously, morally, he should have let her go probably to save all the people, but like it's thematically explainable that he would like do that after like seeing like everything that like leaving her the first time affected her and him. So that was like interesting. I think that was a cool little emotional beat kind of thrown in there, like kind of foreshadowed with everything else that was going on, but yeah.
Yeah, they had a good relationship throughout the film. The sister character was very quiet throughout the whole movie, and they do have lines that address that. It was just kind of weird that she was just a lot of the time just kind of there. And then...
Yeah, I mean, it was very fun in the action scenes. Like, she had some very good choreography. But, I mean, overall, the character it didn't seem like to its full potential. I mean, pretty much everything I'd say, narrative-wise, just didn't seem to its full potential to me. But it definitely delivered on what it was supposed to, I believe.
Yeah, and then the mom character, she didn't, like, confuse me. It was just, I had a big question the whole time. I was just kind of like, did she not know who this guy that she's, like, married to, like, was? Does she not, like, judge him off of that? Because she just kind of says he's changed, even though he's, like, murdered and, like, conquered people for the last, like, thousands of years. It seemed very quick to all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'm going to marry him and have, like, 2 kids with him.
Yeah, that's something that didn't really make sense to me throughout it. It was like, well...
Why'd she pick this guy?
Scene, like, oh, they were, like, kind of, like, into each other when they were fighting, but then it was like, well, yeah, but, like, she knows, like, if she knew of his history, why would she do that? It's like, she's like, oh, I fell in love with him. It's the last person I expected to. It's like, yeah, but, like, it just doesn't make much sense for any of that to actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was a good, like, reason for the Mandarin to have, like, motivation, but it just kind of felt like, I don't know exactly how she, like, just was willing to basically give up her whole life for somebody who's basically a murderer and a conqueror and an asshole.
Yeah, who, like, caused a lot of damage and pain for 1,000 years.
Also, so, I get that he's, like, married and, like, has kids, but why would he just lock up the 10 rings? Like, what's the point of doing that? You can still use them, just don't murder people.
Yeah, just be good with them. Like, you don't have to put them away unless, like,
they literally
have evil.
They literally have a line. Yeah, they literally have a line at the beginning of the movie that you can use them for good, but he didn't. So it's like, it's not like you can't. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't get it.
There's some weird scripting issues, and this movie mostly feels like not really connected to the MCU, because literally, like, the last half of this movie takes place, like, in, like, this hidden village, and, like, there's only one reference to, like, Iron Man, and there's, like, a reference to Thanos at the beginning, and that's, like, it, until the post-credit scene.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking throughout it, is that, like, it didn't really feel like an MCU movie. I mean,
which is a good thing.
It was, obviously. It kind of had, like, that feel with some of the action, and, like, some of it just kind of had that general, like, sense to it, but overall, it was a very unique one, which I do appreciate. It's kind of refreshing.
And I know for sure the Eternals is also probably going to have that feeling. So I mean, that's gonna be a different movie.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not really super excited for that one either. I'm like less excited for that than I was for this. So we'll see how that movie
Yeah,
goes.
based on the trailers, they seem very like similar, kind of akin to the X-Men movies. I don't know. That's just like the vibe I'm getting from them, which none of the X-Men movies ever really impressed me that much. So I don't know if it's gonna be like them at all, but it just kind of seems like they have that vibe to them. I
Yeah,
don't know how it's gonna be.
yeah. Like I
But
enjoy
either
the
way.
first like very few X-Men movies, and then like I did really like Days of Future Past. Like I think that one was actually pretty good. And then I really like Logan, but that's not really an X-Men movie.
Yeah, Days of Future Past was pretty good, and Logan I think was incredible. Outside of that, none of them were really like great to me. I mean, First Class was like decent-ish.
I think
I don't
First
know.
Class is good. I think it's just overhyped a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I think like fans like love it a lot, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's all right. Overall, within the MCU, I think that Shang-Chi is like, I think it's definitely in the top half, maybe. It's around the halfway point of like quality for me.
Yeah, it's probably been the best one since Endgame, which it only has two movies to compete with, but it was definitely better than Black Widow by like a lot. It still has a lot of like script and like tonal issues, which is kind of what Marvel's like had for the most part outside of like some of their other films. Like the last two Avengers movies, I didn't think really had any tonal problems, but these last few ones have kind of, and I kind of hope like by the time we get to like No Way Home and stuff, that a lot of that stuff isn't as much of a problem. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited for No Way Home, but I hope they can actually like find a way to pull together a good
It just,
story behind all of the like crazy stuff that's happening like in universe.
it just seems like a lot's gonna go on in that movie, so I hope it's like long enough and has enough like a good enough script and all that. It was annoying. It was
They can
annoying
actually
though.
see some vibes
I was
down.
I was waiting for them to play the Spider-Man trailer like the whole before the movie, and they didn't. But they played the Eternals trailer and the fucking Venom 2 trailer, but they didn't play the Spider-Man trailer.
I know, it was ridiculous. I heard people like laughing, like getting excited about the Venom 2 trailer, and I was like angry, and I was like, hopefully the Spider-Man trailer will feel better, and there wasn't. So,
Yeah, the Venom trailer I've seen like 50 times, and I also saw the Jackass trailer again for like the 100th time, and like they moved the release dates. I'm gonna see it for the next like 4 months again, and I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm so done with the Jackass Forever trailer. If I hear that stupid line about concussions aren't good, but if you have them before you're 50, it's cool. And not still 49, so we're good.
Yeah, my girlfriend had a concussion, and when she saw that trailer, she was like, "That line made no sense."
Yeah, no, I've never been a fan of Jackass though, so.
I mean, the
first time I
concept,
saw
the
it,
concept of that
this was
movie's,
happening. I was like,
the concept of those movies is kind of like it's kind of a cool gimmick for like maybe like a movie or like a short like TV show, but like 4 movie.
it's just like, you're pouring honey on me? And what's with the slamming? There's a bear in the room.
Dub Bears. People like actively laugh at that trailer in the movie, and I'm like, okay.
I really liked the moment when he was like, my name is not actually Sean, it's actually Shang-Chi, and then like basically like his friend was like, so like you were trying to hide and you changed your name from Sean to Sean.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny bit. It reminded me a lot of like in like the original Star Wars when it's like, oh yeah, my name's Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I changed my name to Ben Kenobi, and nobody ever found me. It's like that makes no sense.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wonder if it means old Ben Kenobi. Like, no, just another Kenobi.
I guess we'll find out in the Kenobi show.
Honestly, I will say, on a little tangent about the MCU overall, I think my primary affinity for all of it is just how well they've done at being interconnected. And normally, at least with the characters they care the most about, they do a really good job with character writing and development. Some of the like less important characters, like they kind of like falter through that. But I think it definitely like is fine with me because the most important characters get good writing, they get good development, and it is connected to all the movies. And like there's really only like 4 or 5 that I think are actually like amazing, like incredible films and are like cohesive enough to be considered great.
Well, yeah. Well,
Overall,
the simple fact that like Iron Man came out in 2008, and now we're getting like a Marvel character like Shang-Chi getting a movie, and like over 15 years later is just like so weird to think about.
it's crazy.
Like, I remember when Iron Man came
And
out.
I'm a big fan of that, and I think it's really good to see representation of like an Asian superhero now that we've seen more like female superheroes, or black superheroes, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
And with all this stuff, and now we get an Asian character that like clearly had care put into the writing of his character, and they found a good actor for him as well. So that's really good, and gave him a pretty solid standalone movie. So that's awesome, and it's just I think overall the MCU is just impressive no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, it's so great to know that like a lot of Asian or Chinese kids now have like a superhero that like they can look up to that's going to be in movies for a while.
Yeah, one that's actually on the big screen and actually going to make an impact, which is just incredible.
Which was the same with like Black Panther, which is sadly not really the case anymore, at least with new content. And characters like Black Widow or Captain Marvel and whatnot. Even though I don't like Captain Marvel like as a movie, it's like really bad. But like if girls like her, that's great. I'm happy for them. Just don't come up to me and say she's like the strongest Avenger, because she's not.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is in my rankings of the MCU movies. Captain Marvel's in my F tier. I have it as the third worst one because it's just so.
And you can't say I'm sexist. You cannot say I'm sexist. You cannot say I'm sexist because I think Captain Marvel and like Ant-Man and the Wasp are like on the same level.
Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the one right below. The only one worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel for me is Thor: The Dark World, which all three of those are just so boring to me. They're unimpressive. They fail on most levels just as a superhero movie.
But it is a good sign. It is a good sign that the worst like movie in this like whole cinematic universe is still watchable. It's still like there's something you can enjoy about it. Very little, but I saw a funny post though because they were talking about that like Shang-Chi has like an A+ on like I think it was like Metacritic, and they said it joined other MCU films in the A+ range, and then like in the comments it said every movie like all the rankings, and on Metacritic literally every single movie in the MCU is at least an A-, and I was like, okay, it joined the A+ club.
That's a little ridiculous if you ask me.
They all have an A except like the first Thor, which has like a B+. Somehow Thor: The Dark World has like an A-.
Okay, the first Thor isn't very good either, but at least it's better than the sequel. And then Ragnarok blew them both out of the water. Ragnarok is actually very good.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for Love and Thunder, which is weird because like we still haven't gotten a trailer for like Doctor Strange 2 or like Thor 2, and those come out in like March and May, and it's like okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that like there's been a lot less pushy about the marketing, it seems, for the films. It's just been like announcements, and then a little bit before it comes out, we get like trailers and stuff. So
well, I guess
it's kind of weird.
I guess there's a rumor.
Maybe they're trying to be more secretive about Phase 4. I don't know.
Yeah, people are saying that Phase 4 has been pretty bad so far, but I think it's been pretty solid for like a completely new like phase for the MCU, like entirely, because like most of the Avengers that we knew aren't really here.
When you take into account stuff like Shang-Chi, which I found very visually impressive and overall just a solid watch, very entertaining. And you look at Loki, which was a great show. All 6 episodes went together very well, and it was really fantastic. I mean, WandaVision was experimental, and they did a good job with it, I think. You look at Black Widow was. I still haven't seen Black Widow, so I can't make any comments on it. But like overall,
it was probably like C or D tier. It's like it's pretty mediocre for what you would expect from like a Black Widow movie.
It seems 10 years late to me, honestly. Like I don't know why.
It should have came out after Civil War, but it didn't.
That would have been more based on what I heard, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Falcon Winter Soldier was like it wasn't like amazing, but it was like a great like buddy cop type of show. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier have some amazing chemistry, and like I can't wait to see more of that. So, and like they successfully made it Captain America Black and didn't make it like a big race thing, and made it very organic in the story, which is like huge props for them.
And I also haven't seen What If yet, but I've heard good things about.
What If has been surprisingly very good. I haven't watched the newest episode, which is like they're actually adapting like the zombies storyline, which is like very, very dark for them to do. Also, I don't know if you saw, but there was one spoiler being posted around where like Spider-Man in that episode brings up Uncle Ben.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is the first time he's been mentioned like in the MCU, which is like very interesting. I hope that it gets brought up in No Way Home since like Tom Maguire Spider-Man is gonna be there and stuff. He'll probably ask about it, which would be cool.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. I'm just really excited for No Way Home, just as a spectacle. I'm just really hoping that
it's gonna. I know it's gonna deliver no matter what. It's gonna deliver at least something no matter what. I just hope it's like a good story too.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm just hoping for a good cinematic experience along with that. But
and this
overall, about Phase 4 before, I've been mostly impressed. I haven't been like disappointed at all.
Yeah, and I'm not super excited by the Turtles. I hope it surprises me, but we'll see. That comes out in like a little over, like less than 2 months, which is very soon. But yeah, and then
it's been crazy. And then No Way Home isn't long after that, so.
There's also the Hawkeye TV show, which hasn't even got a trailer yet, and it comes out in like November.
So yeah, that's wild. That's really. I forgot how soon that was. So.
Yeah, I guess it's like a Christmas show, kind of. Which, okay, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, What If has 9 episodes. I think we're on episode 5, so we still have like 4 more weeks of that.
I definitely want to watch it just because I'm excited about all the hypothetical stuff. I mean, I think that's really cool. Plus, I'm a big fan of animation, obviously. So.
Yeah, and they already have it. They're already doing a season 2 of What If, I believe, as well, which is gonna be 9 more episodes of that.
Well, there you go.
They should really do more animated stuff because it's a lot easier and like they can do more stuff or like cheaper. But
yeah, and animation is such a fascinating and rich medium that they can definitely get a lot out of it. And if they get some good people on it, it can be incredible, I think.
Because I remember the creator of Rick and Morty and like a behind the scenes thing talking about it. He's like, I never really want to do live action stuff because it's so much like more work and more money when you can just like draw and like animate your story and just have voice acting. It's like so much more like free and like imagination you can use.
And the different types of expression it gives you access to is also it's incredible.
Yeah. With the right show, of course. You can also be like Uncle Grandpa or something and be terrible, but
you can also be like Squidbillies.
But
like that, like can exist. So, but like that's the same thing with live action. So that's just how it goes sometimes.
But yeah, back to the movie that like we're reviewing. The 10 Rings are very cool. I'm really excited to see like those throughout the movies, and it's gonna be very interesting because like if Shang-Chi, still getting that name, gets his trilogy, it's been like a thing for like each of these trilogies to end, and like the main character like loses like his main thing. So I'm curious how they do that. Because like I remember Iron Man 3 like gave up his suits, and like Thor 3 he lost his hammer, and then like Captain America 3 he like gave up his shield. So I'm kind of wondering what's gonna happen with these rings throughout like the movies.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where they can take the 10 rings themselves, because like the power that they showed, it's very interesting aesthetically, and they can get a lot out of it, I think, especially in action sequences and in story beats throughout the entire MCU. But more importantly, kaiju are in the MCU again, so that's good.
Yeah, that was very cool to see, and they executed it pretty well. They didn't give too much character to them, like monsters and kaiju. They were just kind of in there at the end. It did end up just becoming a big CGI fest at the end again, which it was like engaging, but it was just kind of like, it just kind of reminds you of like the same old. You know, every Avengers movie ends with a big army. Like every Black Panther ended with an army. Captain Marvel did that. Spider-Man kind of does that a little bit, at least in the last movie.
Yeah. Overall, I gave my rating of Shang-Chi. I gave it a 6 out of 10, and the reason it's a 6 and not any higher is because what's great about it to me is it's very well choreographed. The primary characters are handled mostly well. There's some issues with it, I think, but overall it's fine. And it's great aesthetically overall.
Also, we never.
What
did you say?
Well, I was just like what kind of brings it down overall is just like on the flip side of the character writing, not all of it's great. The tonally it's a little weird, with especially like adding new characters and like what their actual purpose is, and also it just still feels formulaic. It's very unique, and I think it's fresh, but it's still like grounded in that formula, which is always just kind of like, okay, I mean that's fine. It's not gonna like get me extremely excited as it could be.
I want them to take like more bigger chances in like the different genres and not feel like they have to have like the core MCU stuff, because that's just gonna get old after a while, like really old. Like I remember Infinity War, which completely like went away from a lot of like the MCU stuff. Like the villain was kind of the main character. Like there wasn't really like a main hero character you followed. He kept going back and forth. The tone was very bleak, especially at the ending, and like the humor was like a lot more organic and wasn't there as frequent. And like it worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Infinity War, I think it still stands. There's no way it could be outside of the top 3 best films in the MCU. Like as a cinematic feature, Infinity War is incredible. It handles everything well. It sets up a lot, but it doesn't like feel crowded. And throughout the entire thing, visually and story-wise, I just think they do almost a perfect job with it.
Because like Infinity War did everything that like Age of Ultron failed at, but it does even better because they have even more characters and story to tackle.
Right. It brings up more. It brings up a lot, and it actually handles it all well. I think it handles it all with care. And almost every event feels important, it feels impactful, and it's thematically explainable, which is a big goal for superhero films in particular. So.
But yeah, this movie was fairly solid. It's not like amazing. It's not like the best like superhero movie in like ever. I seen like a meme.
Yeah,
like, I guess in the like little like TV spots it says like a quote like it's the best superhero movie of the year, and then just all the memes are like, but like No Way Home.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, we were talking about it before, but the Rotten Tomatoes audience score for it is like a 98, which is higher than a lot of great superhero movies.
Yeah, I think
including even The Dark Knight.
I think it's gone down. I think it's gone down to like a 92 or something, which is like I think still like around where like The Dark Knight and like Endgame are at.
You know, which I think is kind of like crazy because I do like really enjoy it. Like I said, I give it a 6 out of 10. Like it's definitely worth a watch, especially as an MCU fan. I think like casual MCU fans will probably adore it even. But it's really, I don't think like as a film, it's in the same vein as movies like Infinity War, Endgame, and I don't think it really touches The Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight is a flawless superhero movie. But that's just kind of how it is because Shang-Chi is very good. It's solid, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's worth a view, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and it was nice to see theaters mostly crowded again. That's very nice to see.
Yeah, it was actually kind of cool to see people in the theater because every movie I've seen so far has been empty, but this time there weren't many people. There was maybe like 8 people in the whole thing, but still, it was kind of nice.
Mine was fairly crowded, to be honest. It wasn't like filled or anything, but like it was like enough to like be a crowd, which was nice to see. Because I actually had to wait in line for like 5 minutes, which was kind of weird, and I was kind of happy about it. And I really hope I know this isn't gonna happen, but I hope there's like a bigger crowd for like Halloween Kills and there is for Venom 2. But I know that like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, there's no way. But it'd be nice to see like an actual lot of awesome horror fans out to see Halloween Kills.
Well, I know there for sure. I know for sure there will be, and I think the movie's gonna be a success.
Yeah.
And even if it like isn't as much of a success, they're still gonna do the next movie, so we're all good.
Right, yeah, Halloween Ends is still gonna happen, and I'm excited, especially if Halloween Kills goes in the trajectory that I'm expecting, then it'll be honestly everything I would want from a horror film arc, and one of my favorite films of all time. So yeah.
It'd be one of your favorite movies of all time.
The original Halloween.
Oh. I thought you said Kills would become your favorite.
Creating a 4-film arc, stepping for one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I don't see how that movie's gonna fail like at all, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And like
either way,
the two pieces of soundtrack that are out so far, like absolute bangers.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack. I mean, if you know anything about John Carpenter and like it, check out what's been released of the soundtracks from Halloween Kills so far. It is so good.
I didn't think they could beat like the last score. Also, we never brought up this movie's score, which isn't like amazing, but like it's pretty good and it gets you like in the mood pretty well throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
At least like in the fight scenes.
It was decently composed. I think all of the action sequences were really well done. I think that's what really elevated it for me. And like everything outside of that was like just mostly mediocre, so it kind of just bogged it down. But it was still overall impressive. I mean, it was all handled with care, I think, so.
Yeah, but I think overall, as like the 25th movie in this whole universe, and the fact that it's still very solid on its own and gets me excited to see like a completely new character is interesting. Also, one thing that was kind of weird is that his suit was just kind of given to him. It just felt kind of like random.
Yeah, that's true. It was just
But
kind of like, oh, we made this for you. Also, can I say the aunt character felt very just kind of thrown in there, like
who? The ant
it was
character?
just kind of.
The aunt, yeah.
Yeah, the aunt, because he was like, I'm your aunt, guys. Like, I knew your mom very well. It's like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like a mom fill-in because the mom has to be dead for thematically. So, yeah.
I thought they were actually going to bring the mom back, but they did not. But
Yeah.
yeah.
She was definitely, I think, like, from the writing standpoint, so.
Yeah, she was a fine character, the aunt, but she didn't really have much bearing on the plot, and she just was kind of there because she didn't even know like the Mandarin, so like there was no like connection with any of the other characters. She just said that she had a connection with a character that was important to them, and it didn't feel like natural or like organic or anything. If they actually knew her as a kid, it would have been different. But I don't even think the mom mentioned she had family to any of them.
No, she was just very. It felt forced in there, but then, and then also like Shang-Chi was like she was the only one that could beat him to like train me, and I'm like, okay, so she's gonna train him, and then this is supposed to be like impactful for him, and it's like, okay, well, I guess that works. However, they can carry it along, and it isn't handled terribly. It's just kind of a little like egregious, I think. So yeah.
It definitely has a lot of the origin story tropes, but it's like different enough that like it's worth a watch, and I think. Depending on how they like move this character's story forward, I think he could definitely have some amazing like sequel stories and like ensemble stories, and I think he'd be one of like the most compelling characters like with this new lineup of Avengers and whatnot.
Yes, absolutely, I agree with that.
Which is very weird because he's a very like D tier character in the comics, and like now he's definitely going to rise up a lot more, which is always cool to see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they access the power of what he has with the 10 rings and like what he can actually do. Because not only that, but before he got the 10 rings, he was like working on like everything that he had been working on. He was like harnessing a lot of power that like also was kind of fantastical. So it's just going to be really crazy to see what they do with the character from a fantasy standpoint going forward.
Yeah, because he's like a regular human. He just now has like the powers of a god, basically.
Yeah, which is.
Which the screenwriters or something have already said he's basically like on a similar power field to like Thor and like Captain Marvel sort of, which makes sense like organically in the story because that's what the rings are. So
yeah,
it'll definitely be cool to see him interact with other MCU characters besides Wong, who was cool to see. It's kind of weird though. It's kind of weird to see because he was already in What If. And now he's in Shang-Chi, and he's going to be in No Way Home, and then he's going to be in Doctor Strange 2 next year.
Yeah, definitely a lot of a character that like I actually barely remembered from his debut. So.
Yeah, I mean he's like a good character, but then he's just kind of like always popping up now.
He's normally played for comedy and also like surprisingly impactful moments like from a side character. So I don't know, he's fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in what the big overarching story is going to be going forward. Because from what it sounds like, there's going to be like an Earth threat, and there's going to be, like an intergalactic threat, which is going to be Kang, of course. And it'd be cool, cool to see those two stories eventually intersect, and like then there's like a team up villains that like have both been set up through like these storylines. So that'd be like a good like almost like Thanos level event. So we'll see how that goes, but. This character's definitely gonna be important moving forward. So.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, definitely gonna be exciting.
Yeah, I'd say I give it a 6 as well. That's probably about all I have to say. I mean, I'll check it out if you want to, especially if you have like friends or family that want to see it. It's a good get together type movie, and it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean, it holds up well with, like, the mediocre MCU movies. I mean, it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you love action. Great choreography. That's, like, I've said that a few times. That is definitely probably the most notably good part of it, in my opinion. Overall, enjoyable, entertaining, worth a watch.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of great elements. Just some things holding it back that is pretty common in these type of movies that I hope get more resolved soon. Like, I would hate parts of Spider-Man No Way Home to be mediocre, especially for how big it is. Or Doctor Strange, too. So I don't want those movies to be like that at all.
That's true. Doctor Strange 2, I've got such high hopes for it, and I really hope that it delivers, like, in full. Because that's going to be huge for me personally.
It's Sam Raimi. It has to be great, but we'll see.
Right, I am a big fan of Sam Raimi, so we'll just have to see how it goes.
But next week we're talking about Rick and Morty Season 5, right? And just kind of the show in general.
We should have a whole discussion on Season 5 of Rick and Morty, including the massive finale, so I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. That's planned for next week, but we'll probably leave it there.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And
subscribe if you enjoy our voices and discussion.
Yeah. Have an amazing evening and or morning. You know, just keep vibing. Yeah, keep vibing.
Just, have a good time. And hope you have a good life. I don't know what else to say. Life? Sure, cool life.
And life will eat your ass, you know.
I guess.